economic world section, which was obviously taken from paper 2, section B. We were looking at a science park, and the first question was telling you, using figure 5, what is a grid reference? The grid reference for the science park was, using the grid reference is asking you where the university, direction of Southampton Science Park to the university in relation to the university. The answer was southeast C. Okay, you just need to use a compass direction on that one. Here, using figure 5, you had to give 2 pieces of evidence to show that that it was a good location for science park. For example, near the university, you had the grid reference. You didn't have to give a 6-figure grid reference. Okay, the biggest misconception, I couldn't believe it. The blue line here, it's a motorway. It says it here, M27. It says it twice, M27. It's not a river at all, ever. Okay, blue lines, massive blue lines like this. Looks like spaghetti. I have lots of different junctions, 4, junction 6, junction 5. There's junctions on those, okay? It's a motorway. So what you could say, for example, in box 4017, you've got the motorway. Pretty convenient when you're next to a junction and you've got Science Park. It's also in box 4516, you've got the airport. Would be another good answer you could write. There's lots of others, okay? A few of you talked about the wetland centre, arguably, yeah, if you like birds. There's you could talk about the forest over there. There's a few other things you could mention. Okay, but on the whole, those were the big ones: motorway, junction, and the airport. We then had a question here about to what extent are modern industrial development environmentally sustainable? To what extent? Okay, again, you need to say it is and it's not. You had to balance it. First one you could start with is, well, yes, it is. Science parks are environmentally sustainable, and you've got loads of facts over here. In a science park, you have 70 green acres of green spaces, lakes, walking routes, and picnic spots. 27 acres of protected conservation areas. Amazing. Okay, this is good because it protects habitats. It's good for wildlife. It ensures a good air quality, etc. Point is your fact. It is sustainable. Evidence is from figure 6. Analysis, it's telling me how it works. That's for your piece paragraph. And then the counterpoint would be, well, no, it's not actually, because modern industries, science park might be, but a modern industry in the UK might be the car industry, or actually all these people who work there might drive, might increase congestion, might worsen the air pollution. And tell me the negative aspects of the car industry, both in terms of industry in the UK and in terms of using the car to move around Southampton as a big city. Okay, you talk about waste, you could talk about energy production, anything. Okay, so that's kind of how you should have structured one piece paragraph to talk about the pros and the cons. So many people told me why it was sustainable, but didn't mention how it wasn't sustainable. You have to balance it. Okay, that was a 6-mark question. Then this question, I did my nut in, but it's more the idea that it's the exam board's fault. They've changed the layout for moving forward. You'll never again have the map, then the question, because a lot of you saw the map, looked at the question, was like, cool, what am I supposed to do with this? And some of you decided to list all the countries you could recognize here and give me the data as a massive, beautiful table there. That's a waste of your time. Actually, what they're going to do now is put the question at the very top and the map underneath, because that makes way more sense. And I guarantee you, 99% of you wouldn't have made that mistake if the exam board had thought it through correctly. But the answer here was Iceland. It was written here. You just had to draw some lines because Iceland is 12.3. 12.3, you can see it over there, is 11 or more is lines. You just had to draw horizontal lines for 1 mark. It's only a mark. Not the end of the world, just a shame because it's an easy mark, okay? And the next one there, outline one disadvantage of using birth rate. One disadvantage, you have to make your disadvantage, explain to me why it was a disadvantage, okay? So you can say one disadvantage is that in some countries, they don't have accurate data. As a result, it will be unreliable information. And it also, you could also say one issue is it only measures social aspects of quality of life. It doesn't measure economic growth or salaries. Just have to make a point, explain to me why there's negative. Okay, next one is HDI is what combines income, life expectancy, and education. So that was B. And then next one, outline one physical cause of uneven development. Physical means natural. Okay, so a physical cause could be climate. It could be landlockness. It could be diseases like malaria. It could be natural hazards. They could be it could be the lack of water. Like, there's so many, but it has to be natural. Okay, so you just have to tell me, right? For example, natural hazards would cause uneven development because countries that suffer from them will often have to spend money rebuilding after numerous disasters. Okay, as simple as that. Calculate the interquartile range. Okay, again, it was in order. The median is this one. It's Egypt. Okay, the upper quartile is these three. The lower quartile is these three. So the upper quartile is India. The lower quartile is Bangladesh. India minus Bangladesh was an answer of 502, 947. That was it. Okay, just had to measure the difference between India and Bangladesh. This minus that. Okay, that was 2 marks. Then we had the 4-mark question. Suggest how debt relief can reduce the development gap using figure 9. You've got facts in the figure over there. You can see Kenya spends more money on debt repayment than it does on public health. So the obvious one is that debt. First of all, tell me the first point. What is debt relief? Debt relief is when high-income countries forgive the debt to Kenya. In this case, 2.7 million billion dollars would be not spent by Kenya on debt relief on debts. So they'd be relieved of this. They'd have the money to spend on something else. That means they could invest on better. They could improve the services. They could improve on the quality of healthcare. Okay, and then you can say, well, actually, that might kickstart services. That might kickstart the multiply effect. Second point, explain to me how the multiply effect would increase the development of a country and therefore reduce the gap would be your final point. Okay. And then the final one down there is suggest how economic development can bring improvements to the quality of life at cost to the environment using case study. You had to use a case study. The case study we had over there was Nigeria, and it had to be shell oil. It was an obvious example we did in our lessons. Just trying to find the notes I made here for the essay. 9 mark means you have to have 2-piece paragraphs. Okay, that's another obvious one. And when you have 2-piece paragraphs, the easiest one to do is to make sure you only talk about improvements, social improvements to quality of life. Okay, and negative to the environment. Don't try and tell me how you can manage the environment. Don't give me negative social and positive environmental. Doesn't answer the question. Had to be negative for the environment. Had to be positive for social. So they often had to be linked as well. Okay, so you had to do 2-piece paragraphs. Remember, your point and your evidence is only worth about 25% of your overall grade. Okay, so there's no point dwelling on that. Focus on the ACE, analysis, counterpoint, and explanation. Okay, so you could have talked about, for example, one social benefit is provides jobs to local people. A few of you said 65 direct 5,000 jobs. As a result, it improves quality of life. It can improve access to food, housing, healthcare, and the like. However, the industry in Nigeria is the oil industry. You might have a lot of it would contribute towards climate change, and that you can talk about the negative impacts there. Okay, and similarly, another advantage might be you've got a lot of people who are trained. So you've got the Shell Foundation actually aims to improve the quality of life. It aims to educate workers. Therefore, you have a better skilled workforce. Therefore, they're higher paid jobs. Therefore, pay more money, take taxes, multiply effect, and whatnot. And then you can talk about however, well, actually, the Bodo oil spill is a massive issue. It can contaminate water supply. It can cause health diseases and the like. Okay, pretty straightforward. 2-piece paragraphs. First half on positives to social, second half on negative on the environment, and the same for the second paragraph. Okay, nice, balanced, overall answering the question.